Hi, and welcome back to Sticks and Strings. I'm Naomi.
I'm Blind Pew.
I'm Eve.
I'm Beth, really.
Beth is blind. She's not really blind.
No, I'm not. Close enough.
She just came from the eye doctor. So she wanted to wear her fashion shades.
Yes, my designer.
It's so cool. Turn sideways. No, turn sideways. They can see the paper earpiece.
Yes. And it's still poking me. It's not big enough. Ow. It's not big enough. It hurts. Ow.
They're not meant to be worn, but
no.
Like 5 minutes. The sun's down. I think you're safe.
I don't know. This light is pretty bright.
I know. It's like you see a kaleidoscope.
Yeah. He's like, whoa.
Like those glasses you get for fireworks, you know? That's how my eyes are when I've done that. But, are you going first?
Help a little bit. Yes.
Anyway, we're back. It's November, 1 week closer to Thanksgiving, and
tomorrow's Veterans Day, so
thank you for your service.
Yes.
So yeah, you're going first?
I'm going to go first.
Okay.
So, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's in our Etsy shop. We have a sale going on, which is
30% off of $50.
That. And so there's this little
there's
project bag. There's a notions pouch in here. And this one has a little pumpkin charm on it. Can't do it upside down, backwards.
That's a cute charm.
And then there's the notions pouch that has a little, is that an acorn?
Mm-hmm.
Little acorn. And it has this this little doggy dressed up as a turkey and a pilgrim.
Oh,
and then this real pretty little fallish fabric inside.
I like this.
Yeah, and this is like slightly quilted.
Yeah. That's the one I showed, not quite
wasn't quite
done.
finished last week.
Yeah.
So those are two, and then that one.
And then this one is the bigger size.
So is this a set, Eve?
Yeah.
This one's a set?
Yeah.
They're both sets. That one has a
there's a matching notions pouch.
Oh, nice.
Too. This one has a little leaf charm. And has that,
and the other one's an
fall
acorn
fabric.
Oh, that's pretty.
And then there's matching notions pouch with another acorn. This is a yellow acorn.
That's so pretty.
But it's really cute. There's the little dog.
Looks like Snoopy, huh?
Yeah, it's a little Snoopy kind of dog, and he's dressed as a pilgrim in some of these pictures and as a turkey in some of the other ones.
In his school play?
Yeah. Yeah, so these are both on the Etsy site. And also, sorry about that. We could clobber the microphone. We also have some Christmas, since Christmas is coming up, Christmas scissor fobs. This one here has a tree. We'll have pictures of these so you can see them better. I think this one also has a tree. I was trying to get
a variety.
I accidentally got this. And this one has a little reindeer. You can wiggle him around.
Oh, he's a little reindeer. Articulated reindeer.
Articulated, yes, that's a good word. And then this one is just a wintry night scene.
Ooh, that is pretty.
It's so pretty. Those charms, yeah, I saw those. Those are
that's
really nice.
Pretty.
So we have a few of those. And then we have a few of these. And there's a little
bear.
Elf and...
Oh, it's an elf?
It's an elf. Yeah. He's got this little beard. And then some trees and a little peppermint.
Oh, that is really cute.
So that's cute.
That's fun.
And since I can't see, I'm going to work on some scissor fob ideas. So
they might come out really weird.
But before I do that, I want to talk about what I did with stitching. So one of my WIP-GO pulls is this on the balcony that Eve designed from a picture I took years ago of my cats, Snug and Puck. And so I worked on this a little bit.
Oh, there's Puck's head.
Week. Yeah, there's Puck right here.
Ready to bite you.
Yes. No.
Oh,
Here.
I'm off
Here
camera.
I am.
I'm really off camera.
I'm really pretty.
Over here.
Pet my head so I can bite you.
Yeah.
It's Puck's raison d'etre. And then I worked a little bit on the smaller Erica Michaels Nativity Berry. And I finished Mary's robe and did the little sheep there at the bottom.
Nice. Well, it's really little, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing it 1/1 on 25 count. Lugana. From Hobby Lobby in steel blue. And then I also worked a little bit on this Continental Woodland Holiday Sampler by Artful Offerings.
I just love that.
Yeah,
I love it.
it's really
I love it.
beautiful.
When I was at the attic ordering it, they kept, they were looking at it on the screen. They're like, "Oh, look there! Oh, look at that!"
Oh, and all the alphabet.
So cute. Yeah.
Too. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cute.
They have ornaments that they're giving to the deer to put on the tree.
Just adorable. And
So cute.
yeah, so this one, I think I started it in May. I started a few things in May, and I just didn't, haven't touched it since. It's a dog, quite little dog. So I had just the antlers done, so I've worked on the deer himself here. So his ears, I finished his ears, and I'm working on the neck and head on that. So. And then I did a little designing. This is I think I don't know if I talked about it last week. I know I talked about it on my channel. And this is a saying that my parents always had, especially my dad. Panza llena, corazón contento. So it means when your stomach's full, your heart is content. Satisfied. Yeah. So there's a cat and his tummy is full, and there's his food dish. And there's a mouse and his tummy is full, and there's a piece of cheese there.
Are you sure the cat's tummy isn't full of another mouse?
I don't know. He's not eating that mouse because his tummy is full. And his heart is content.
Okay.
So he's not going to eat the mouse.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not supposed to talk about
Carnivorous
prey
pets.
and predator.
Yeah, I'm going to put this over here out of the way. So that's all me.
That's all you?
That's me.
Well, show them some of these new things.
Yeah, so I'm looking at some of these charms. There's some big peppermint charms and some
Like kitties?
cats and stuff. I have to sort through. I haven't looked
It's
at.
mostly Christmas kitties.
Yeah.
Christmas cats.
Yeah,
There's a
Cute.
Scotty dog.
yeah. There's some Christmas things. There's a Scotty dog and a bone in here somewhere. There's a bone.
I like this little mitten.
And these are some that I think Eve bought last year.
A little mitten.
There's a mitten, there's a candy cane, there's some Santa Clauses, and
That's
there's a
cute.
reindeer here. So I'm going to look at all these. So I probably won't get anything done by the time we're done with this video. I'm just working on something because I can't really cross stitch because everything is blurry. So. And I want to make mistakes. So.
Do you want me to go next?
So that's me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So I was going to say, all I did this week was work on this sleeve, but that's not true. So a friend of mine at work, their birthday's coming up, and I just got it a wild hair because Nick really likes crochet and all those things, and so I made them a beanie. And I just whipped it out in like a day. And I gave it to Nick right away, early for his birthday, and so I don't even have it to show. But I made this beanie in black. Oh, can't see. It's called it's from this book called Slouchy Beanies. And I've made this hat for myself. I think that's the one. Yeah, I made that one for myself. And then I made this, whipped it up in black.
Let me see it.
And it's called
that's cute.
Newsboy. It's got a little brim. Oh, cute. So I did that. I just got a wild hair and said, happy birthday. So that was fun. That was one thing I did. And then I also, remember I was talking about the secret project? I decided it wasn't a secret anymore because it's for Rachel. And I said, I don't want to make this whole thing and then her not like the yarn or something. So there was this thing. I'm going to put up a picture here from, it's like a copy of a shawl that's seen in that show Outlander. I don't know if you've ever seen, I've never watched the show, but I see clips of it, and all I do is go, what's that shawl? That's cool knit. Because the women are always wearing something. And this is this beautiful, I'll put a picture here. It's like a big cape, basically. And Rachel fell in love with it because we were talking about Outlander, and I was like, so I think she sent me a screenshot, or I sent her a screenshot of one I had seen, and she's like, oh, I love that. So then I looked on Ravelry, and boom, there it is. Somebody made a pattern of it. And I was like, that looks like it's just a rectangle of garter stitch. How hard would that be? And Rachel's like, oh, I really like that. And I was like, I can't take on any new projects. It was and I told her that right away, because at the time I was feeling really sad and very stressed. And so it was probably true. But then I thought about it, and I looked at the pattern, and I'm like, I could do that. I'm going to surprise her. So I'm going to have a secret. So I went looking for the yarn. Now, the yarn that it calls for is 2 skeins of this yarn called Scarfy by Lion Brand. And it's a variegated yarn. So it goes, some of them are subtle, but some of them are very contrasted. And knowing her likes, they have a green one that goes green to black, which would have been so perfect, but I could not find it. And being the impatient person I was, I did not want to order it because I didn't know, I couldn't find it in stock anywhere, and I couldn't find it in any stores. So the other Scarfy colors I wasn't sure if she would like them. And since I was trying to keep it a secret, I couldn't ask. So then the other option is, instead of using 2 of those, you use, so that it says 2 skeins held together. So it's like a bulky yarn, a super bulky yarn. And they said instead of doing that, because Scarfy is already a bulky yarn. And so you hold 2 together and it's super bulky. So they said instead of doing that, you could use a super bulky yarn. So this is also Lion Brand. I found this. It's called Wool Ease Thick and Quick. And it's the colorway Toasted Almond. So it's a brownish black. And I fell in love with it. So I started it. And it's so nice because it's this giant fat needle. And it's always fun to work with a big needle. So this is the neck portion here. And this is the shoulder portion. And it isn't just a big square. It has, I'm showing you. Yeah, you see my 2 ends, right? This is the right side, but I have 2 ends here. Anyway, it has short rows. So you do a few regular rows, and then you do a pattern of short rows, and then you do regular rows. So eventually it will sit like this, and it capes. Oh, you can't see me because I'm half off camera. It fits over the neck. It's okay. It fits over the neck like this, and then it has, since it has the short rows.
You really are half off camera.
I know. Since it has
this way, Beth.
Since it has short rows, it's okay.
I'm stuck.
It's okay. Since it has short rows, it makes the shape around the shoulder. It's going to be really pretty. So I finally said I need to just ask, because I've gotten all this work done, and I'm like, I don't want to get. I just was like really worried. I'm like, I just want to make sure that she likes it, because what if I don't know. So I just didn't want to make something for somebody that they didn't like. So
except beanie hats.
No, I actually asked Nick about that too before I made it.
The color and everything.
Yeah, I was like, this is going to be a surprise, but I don't want to make something you don't like. What color do you want? Which made me think I need to ask the same question to Rachel. So and Nick was so happy. Anyway, so I texted a picture of this to Rachel, and I was like, okay, it's not a secret. This is your Christmas present. Do you like it? And she's like, I love it. She said, basically, if it's not yellow or, I don't know what she said, yellow or orange or something like that, she's like, we're fine. I'm like, well, I would never do that. Anyway, so this is the not so secret project anymore. Merry Christmas. It's coming along. So I have been working on that occasionally. But what I've really been doing is, as you remember last week, I finished this sleeve. And so I started the second one, and look how far I've gotten already. And they do not, I did check with Hannah. I said, do you care if they don't match exactly? So you see this one starts brown and this one starts blue. But they look so similar already. So I don't think the difference will be that bad. See?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm already at the decreases. So I predict that by the time I see you next week, I will have already joined both of these sleeves to the body. And this was, remember, I was like real worried because of the stripe difference size. I started looking at all kinds of sweaters online using variegated yarn because this is a thing. So the body stripes are skinny and the arm stripes are fat. And then when I join it up here, the stripes will be skinny again. But I think it'll be okay. I've got a piece of fiber in my mouth. Yeah. Okay. So that's the story, Morning Glory, and I think I'm content with it. I did see. I feel really bad. Okay, I don't want to be ugly, but when I was searching,
But I'm going to be.
but I'm gonna be. When I was searching for samples, because I started to stress at work yesterday, thinking, is it going to look really ridiculous with these fat stripes on the sleeves and the skinny stripes on the body and the skinny stripes on the shoulders? I'm like, is it going to look bad? And so I started looking for samples of hand-knit sweaters with variegated yarn, and there was one. There was a sweater being sold on Etsy, and it was ugly. It was so ugly. Part of it, the ugliness, and okay, I'm sorry. Maybe now everyone watching hates me. It was well made, but the yarn was not pretty. It was like a gray. The overall color was gray, and it had blue and I think black stripes. And that was the problem. That it had been made. I think it had been made neck down, and then the sleeves are stopped here at the. So you knit it down and you stop the sleeves here, and then you finish the body, and then you put the sleeves on and do it like that. So the same exact problem had happened. But I think these are more subtle, I think. So I'm hoping it doesn't look... Now, well, because my colleague was like, I'm like, this is how it's going to look. And I think it was Nick. Maybe it was Samantha. One of them said, but you have better yarn or something like that, like better colors. So I'm hoping that it doesn't look completely ridiculous. I don't think it will. And I feel a little bit like, oh, I should have thought of this when I chose this yarn. But it is what it is. And hopefully, I guess I'm just worried about that transition between the top of the sleeve here and the rest of the shoulder.
Well, those colors, they're different, but they're not starkly different, like a gray and a black are.
Yeah, and I think that's why it looked so... And the gray, the problem with that was that there was a lot more gray in between the stripes of black. I can find it.
They have pretty much the same value, you know.
Yeah.
You don't have anything that's really light with stuff that's really dark.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I think that the blending, the way the colors blend together, because I think when you do this with the sleeve next to the body, it doesn't even look that bad right there. Like, well, if I'm looking at that.
And how it hangs on a person is different too.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that the difference will be subtle enough that it won't be so stark. So that's my little middle of the night stresses that I have. And I can't find I have little end caps, you know, that go on the needles, and I couldn't find my extra set. And I pulled this part of the sweater out of the bag, and I was about to lose stitches on this body, and I was like, oh no! So I grabbed a rubber band that I keep in my bag and rubber banded them together. I'm like, that would be a disaster and a half. So yeah, I'm going gangbusters on this sleeve. I'm about to do the decreases. So I am at a little over maybe 80 stitches. I mean 80 rows out of 158. So I feel good. Feel really good. And Hannah's like, it's getting cold. I need it. I need the sweater. I'm like, okay, I'm trying. But so that's my major obsession this week is really, I'm surprised with myself. I've been pretty steady on this. I realized I started this sweater in July and I'm like, why is it taking me so long? And I realized because in August, right when Dad got sick, I started that shawl. I worked on that and I haven't finished my shawl. I put it away because I was like, I want to finish this sweater. So that's why I'm so far behind, but it's coming along nicely.
We're far behind because of August.
Well,
and September.
Yeah. It's been a rough couple of months. But I am, but you know, and the reason I started going gangbusters on this is because this is, with the exception of like these decreased rows, this is pretty mindless knitting, like the body and the length and the sweater, because you just go round and round and round and round and round. This sleeve is taking me a tiny bit longer because I'm actually counting rows so that they match. And so here's my little row counter. I had one of these, but I had to buy another one because I don't know where it is. It's in a project bag. I think I know where it is.
That happens to me all the time.
But this is my little row counter.
I don't know what I just did. trying to tie this together,
Oh,
and
no.
I pulled it apart.
So that's me. I'm done. That's all I've been doing.
Okay. So what I'm working on right now is filling in the red on this banner. And then I have a little bit of stuff to do down here, and I'll finally be done with this berry. I'm excited to finish this berry, and then I'll fully finish them, and I can't wait to see what I'm going to do, because I have no idea. But that means I also need to crochet tops for that Christmas berry. I don't have to do it at the same time, but, you know. So I'm going to put this cross stitch aside here for right now, because I am almost done with this quilt top.
Ooh.
Everything, all the rows are put together. All I need to do is go choose a black fabric, and I'm going to take it with me. And I've decided that I'm going to do the piano key thing, maybe just on the two sides. I don't know. But each corner is going to have a square of that fabric. So then the black, are, you know, in that. So
nice.
When I finished this, I was like, well, I should make a bag, or, you know, and I was looking through my projects that I have over here stacked up behind me, and there are several. Wow, that's a lot of threads. So as I was looking at all that stuff, and I was going to work on Beth's coat because it's cold. It is cold here.
It's cold.
We usually don't get this cold this early. And for what did it went from like 79,
80 to 60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
for us, that's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I saw the little weather thing on my phone, it said 20 degrees colder than yesterday or something. I'm like, oh.
So we've been a little chilly here, and I thought, oh, I should work on that jacket. But I'm traumatized by that stuff. And so I went, well, instead, I'm going to start quilting this. So I have some of it quilted right here. It's just a meandering, it's not the kind of meandering that goes all the way around like that. It's just a diagonal meandering thing.
Nice.
And there's lots of problems with it, like little hitches where it just like squares off.
Yeah.
Because I didn't put on the what is that foot?
The quilting foot or the walking foot?
I have on the walking foot, but I didn't put on the other one. And I knew I should have put on the other one, but I was like...
The open eye one?
Yeah. I was like, it'll be okay. It's for me. I'm not taking it to the fair. Also, my comforter, because it is missing a lot of its fluff because of the dog, it's a little thin. So some nights I wake up and I'm like, I'm so cold.
I need my quilt.
So
I'll just throw another cat in the bed.
almost done with this quilt top. Kind of
Nice.
excited about that.
I'm
I
proud
don't-
of you for quilting your other one. That's fun. That's so pretty.
Yeah, well, it'd be prettier if I did it right, but oh well.
Right, schmite.
You know, and I have
Finished is better than perfect.
my machine doesn't have a big throat, so I have to just kind of like muscle it through.
Yeah.
And that's probably where some of those happened, and they might have happened anyway because I would have been muscling it. So that is all the quilting I've been doing, but I've been working on my WIP-GO challenge, 15 days on Christmas lantern. This is by Twin Peak Primitives. I'm doing it on 14 count Ada in a gold sparkly thing.
Oh.
And
Wow.
here's how, let me see, put this behind it so you can kind of see it better.
Nice.
This is how far I've gotten. I love working on this,
It's so pretty.
but the white is so
It
hard.
shows up pretty good.
Yeah, here.
Yeah.
Because what you see here is both sides.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing the first row,
oh, you can't see
you
it.
can't see it
Oh,
until you
yeah.
come back the other way. And this part right here, I had to do over and over to get it to come out right. And I'm still not sure.
Is it like the glass reflection kind of thing?
And it's supposed to have little dots everywhere. Little, see these?
Uh-huh.
Those are not going to be there.
You see the pattern?
I think it's like snow.
Oh.
Inside the lantern, no. They're not going to be there because it's hard enough to do where the white
you
is
don't
all
need
together.
it with the gold, I think. The gold shines up so much. You know, like it
Yeah.
catches the light. I don't think you'll need that.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
So I've also been slowly plugging away at the nativity berry. And I'm this far. So not much further than last week. I've started the big star. And then I have tons of white swirling around. Stars and, tons. It's not white, it's grits, but, basically white. And then, of course, the family there. I started some of the white because I was doing the little swirly thing above Joseph's head. And I was going to just go until I ran out of that thread. I did it to help me count, But then I thought, if I keep going with all those stars and then this big gold star doesn't fit in the middle, I'm going to be mad. So I have the white parked up here. And I'm just going to finish this gold star and then I'll worry more about that white going on. And when you look at the pattern, just look at all these little swirlies and white stars, and that's what I'm talking about. The only gold star is the one that's right above their shoulders. The rest of this has a whole bunch of white going around everywhere, which is beautiful. I think the pattern is absolutely beautiful. I may just do all of that white and then worry about doing the people, because I'm still trying to decide if they're going to be a little more toward the Caucasian, which isn't historically right, or more toward the darker skin.
Mm-hmm.
And she has in the threads, both, so that you can pick. It says either or, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I'm leaning toward the lighter skin is because I think the faces will show up better.
Yeah.
And I want the little faces to show up. So what I might do is see how different that shows up, because I think it'll make it hard to see the faces. But there's that. And lastly, because I'm so far ahead of everything that I need to do, I have a new start. When I was looking for, I have the pattern for Christmas Lantern printed out, but I also have it on my tablet, where I have many of my patterns that I have not finished, and some that I have. And I saw this pattern, and I remembered that I really wanted to do it. And I don't think I'm going to be done for this Christmas.
Love that.
And it says,
little penguin.
yeah, it says Christmas ornaments, but they're put together so closely that I think, how would you separate them? So I'm not sure if I have enough fabric to separate them like that, but I love these. I'm working on the reindeer, but they're adorable. It's 3 colors, mostly white, and it calls for the brown is just like a couple of eyeballs. Calls for Krynic for the eyes, and I think I'm going to choose something else shiny because Krynic gives me a headache. I love shiny, but Krynic gives me a headache. And dimensionally, it's so much different.
Yeah.
So after I finish this first square, if I feel like I have enough space this way to separate them more, I'm going to do that so that I know I have enough space this way, so that I can make them separate ornaments, because I'd rather have them separate ornaments.
Yeah.
But I started it on this 25 count Lugana, whatever color this is.
Steel blue. It's that package, right? From Hobby Lobby? Yeah.
So this is my start. Now, I've never worked on 25 count. I'm used to 32 count. So I have put my needle in the wrong place so many times, I can't even tell you. To me, like, it's like huge.
Are you doing it over 2?
Yeah. So there's some I'm like, oh man, later on I'm like, that is just not right. And if I notice it right away, I'll undo it and get it right. But if I don't,
it'll be hanging on the tree. You won't see it.
it'll be hanging somewhere, but probably not on a tree. So I think I might have enough to go further apart, side to side. I hope so.
Well,
But-
that sure does look pretty, though.
I have the first snowflake done.
That's so
That's
pretty.
really...
Although my snowflake doesn't look like that snowflake.
What is that little creature? Is that a mouse or is
I
it?
think it's a mouse, but I'm wrong.
And there's an
Or a
owl.
polar bear.
An owl and a reindeer and a penguin.
These three is what sold me on the pattern. But even when I bought it, I went, what the heck is that? So I don't know if I did this pattern incorrectly or what, but see this how it's missing this little thing right here?
Yeah.
It's not there on the digital pattern.
Let me see the picture.
And I haven't gotten past this row here, so that's why that's not there. The one that's supposed to be there, I was gonna go put it in. I was all set to do it, and on the pattern it's further out, like snow. And so maybe it's supposed to be in both places. So maybe I should just go ahead and put it in, because I want my snowflake to look like a snowflake. This little thing is missing here.
Or is that...
See, it doesn't look right. It doesn't look like that, right?
It looks like this little arrow is in the wrong, is down here instead of in between those two pluses.
I don't know. I'm going to have to look at it carefully. I'm like, I thought I did the pattern correctly, but
I think that's a...
okay, comment. What animal is that? We'll leave it up longer.
Is it a polar bear?
I don't think so. I think it's too skinny up on top.
Because is this the belly of the animal? Or is that, it's like holding a string?
I think it's a mouse.
Does it say in the pattern?
Huh?
Does it say in the pattern like reindeer?
It just says Christmas ornaments.
Oh.
Snowflake ornaments, it says. Oh, I didn't say who this is by. It's called Snowflake Ornaments. It's by Cross Stitching for Fun.
You could email the designer and ask him what animal it is. And also, my snowflakes messed up.
I don't know. Could be that I just did it wrong, but I don't know. So I'll take a separate picture of just this animal. And y'all tell us what it is. I think it's a mouse.
I think it's a polar bear.
I think if it was a polar bear...
It'd be fatter. You're right.
Well, you know what? Look.
It looks like a bear.
Look. This little line right here.
It's the tummy.
No, I think it was supposed to be filled in there. They don't have little lines like that on any of these animals.
Yeah.
I think it's a mistake in the pattern. I'll look at the pattern.
Because it kind of looks... Don't bark. It kind of looks like a polar bear to me.
See, like this here looks like back stitching, but I think it's supposed to be stitches.
Oh, weird. Oopsie. Oopsie doopsie.
I'm going to fill it in and make it a bear.
There you go.
And I'm going to fill in those gold things because I think that that's a mistake on this picture.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at the pattern and see what's there. But I'm like...
I was going to say, I found a mistake on the Erica Michaels pattern.
Yeah, I remember you saying.
Yeah.
So,
it happens.
It happens.
Yeah, so I'll take a picture of the whole thing so y'all can see it, but then I'll take a close-up of this one thing going. But when I thought about it, I thought their patterns don't really have backstitch. Oh, and cross-stitching for fun is that pattern that one of them's in Russia and the other one's in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a different site you have to go to. But they're on Instagram and Facebook, and it says in there how to find their patterns. But they really don't do much in the way of backstitching. So there is some backstitching in some of these snowflakes, but mostly there's not. So I find it difficult to believe that most of this animal is backstitched.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think probably that's supposed to be
filled in.
Like they draw it and then fill it in on the pattern. I don't know.
So and if you're using something like a computer like PC Stitch, it's very easy to accidentally, if you touch your mouse, it'll put in whatever put in a random square somewhere, and if you forget to take it out, it's there, or if you forget to, you get interrupted and you don't fill in whatever, so it's easy to make that mistake.
That's right. So that's me. I want to tell a quick story today. I've been seeing a pulmonologist that from the first time I saw him, I was not happy is not correct. I wasn't loving it. They tell you, don't come on time for your appointment because he's always running late.
No.
And you will sit in it
Why give me an appointment?
When I was going to the office, well, because he's always at the hospital. Okay, so when I went to the in-person appointments, and I think I only had 2, he's been my pulmonologist since before 2020. But after the pandemic hit, I've had only digital, online appointments with him. I don't know how he can tell how I'm breathing if he doesn't actually see me.
Even after everybody went back to the offices, he never did.
He still hasn't. And I think it's because it's convenient for him, because he can just, be anywhere and talk to you. Mm-hmm. And his appointments are still late. I think my last one with him was like at 3:00, and he called at 4:30. So they say it's because he has hours at the hospital. I know a lot of doctors that have hours at the hospital, and they still make it to their appointments on time. Because they're there from this time to this time, and it's not like he's doing surgery. I don't think he does surgery. It's just, Anyway.
I can tell you what he does at the hospital.
I wasn't real happy. I was having a serious problem when we were in New Mexico one time. And
cute.
And it was hard for me to get an appointment. Mm-hmm. This was before 2020, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, well, what's going on? The office staff is talking to me. And I'm like, I can't breathe, and this is wrong, right? So he was my dad's pulmonologist in the hospital. To say that we did not like the care from the pulmonologist is a little bit of an understatement. But even if we had liked it, I don't want to see him. I don't want to look at him. And I'm not... I didn't talk to him on a almost daily basis like Naomi did. So she's angry. I just don't want to see him. So I decided that I was just going to change pulmonologists, because I want to see a pulmonologist that looks at my lungs in person. And so today I had an appointment at 8:30 in the morning that I had to drive through rush hour traffic into downtown Phoenix. I mean, McDowell Road at 8:30 in the morning. That's a very, very, very busy thing, because it is one row off the freeway, one street. And there's a hospital there, and it's busy. So they said get there half an hour early. I did. I got there, and I filled out very simple paperwork. I had a digital thing I had to fill out, which took like 5 minutes. And I was seen at 8:30.
Shock.
I was out of there by 9 o'clock. With some follow-up stuff to do.
Yeah.
Nice. And while she agrees that my asthma is very well maintained, very well, that I'm doing well at keeping it under control. I've told her, I've had these issues ever since I had COVID, and everybody's like, well, you're oxygenating okay. And I'm like, yeah, but my chest hurts all the time, and I cough all the time. I shouldn't be doing that. Mm-hmm. So something is wrong. But I cannot tell you how refreshing it is. And I've had other doctor visits that were good. But after all of this other stuff with this guy, to go in there, be on time, go in, have an appointment that the doctor talks to you like you're human and doesn't, and she goes, why are you taking this? I'm like, because he said to. She goes, I don't think you really need that. I said, I don't know. I don't think so either, but he said to take it, so I'm taking it. She's like, don't take it anymore. So, and I think it's that not seeing someone in person that allows that kind of thing to happen. And
well, I don't understand how. That's what I kept saying. Like, how can he listen to your lungs? Like, how can he evaluate what's going on with you?
And honestly, if Dad had a different pulmonologist, I probably would have put up with him longer.
Yeah.
and until whatever's going on becomes even worse. And by then it might be a problem,
Yeah.
you know? So,
I'm glad you went.
yeah, so I was like, it was like the heavens opened up. Of course they didn't. It was very cloudy today. But, and you know, and I will never schedule an appointment at that time with them again if I can help it. But I was like, you know what? Having had this experience, I don't even mind having to drive in rush hour traffic.
Yep.
So I'm not used to it anymore, but
Some doctors are worth it.
and it's not close, and I generally want close, but I was very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. So
Well, you remember last week when I was here and you asked me if something was wrong and I told you my back hurt?
mm-hmm.
Well, that was Thursday, right? And Friday I didn't work, but we went to the concert. And I don't know when it started.
Well, on our last
But-
video, I remember you saying my back hurts.
Yeah, so it's been hurting between my shoulder blades. It had been hurting for days. But somehow, I know, it was pretty stiff on Friday. And I thought I was going to go to the concert Friday night, and I took a shower, and I had the water on hot, and I turned it to the massaging thing, and I sat there, you know, with it on my back, and it was like right between my shoulder blades where it was really bad. And so I sat there in the shower for a long time, like kind of just moving that water thing around in the middle of my back and trying to get it to relax. And I got out of the shower and I was like, okay, I feel pretty good, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It felt different. And I got ready. I went, because I had taken everybody to work that day because we didn't want to go to the concert in 2 cars. So I went and got Mark, and we met Eli downtown, and we had dinner. And it was very cold that night. Like wearing a coat cold. And maybe that's why, because I went from like the soft warm muscles to cold, and I was probably shivering a little bit. I don't know. But then we walked to the concert hall, and we walk in, and as I sit down in the chair, and I'm trying to sit back in the chair like this, it started spasming, not where it had been hurting, but further down, like by my shoulder, like below my shoulder blade, at my shoulder blade and down. And I couldn't even sit back in the chair. And I was like, And Mark's like, what's wrong? I'm like, my back's in spasm. Then the music was so beautiful, I forgot all about it. Because it was Augustin Hadley. And he is so great. If any of you out there in the world have an opportunity to go hear him play, he's fabulous. So I was really blown away. Well, then intermission comes, and Eli and I got up to go get some water, and I was kind of in a lot of pain. And Mark's like, do you want to go home? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. And I'm like, but you're going to have to drive. So we get out to the car. I am barely getting in the car. Mm-hmm. And we got home, and I could barely get out of the car. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I thought I had some muscle relaxers from some time before, but we get home, I can't find them. Well, I can't even reach up. Any movement hurt, like reaching up into looking in the cabinet and everything. So Mark and Eli just stuck me in my chair, and I took my 1 allowed dose of ibuprofen, because that's all I could do. Mm-hmm. And I was in that chair, so that was Friday night, and I was supposed to work Saturday night. So I basically stayed in the chair all day Saturday, and I mean, because I slept there, and you know, I had a hot thing on my back, and just because I was okay if I was down, and I was okay if I was up, but going between down and up, I could barely move. And I'm like, how am I going to go to work? And so I basically was in the chair until it was time for me to go to work. And by then I felt pretty much okay, but then I couldn't sit in the we have these real high chairs at the counter in the box office, and I couldn't sit in it, so I just was on my feet all night, working on my feet. And then I went home, did the same routine all the way till I was supposed to leave for work at I had to be there at noon, so I'd leave at 11:30 on Sunday, and I was just in the chair. but by Sunday afternoon, it had started to finally feel better. I haven't tried it off.
I know, I see.
I started to finally feel better, but boy, that was really bad. And I thought, I guess I'm gonna have to go to the doctor, on Monday. I'm gonna have to call, but it's still if I put my head down like that, I can still feel it.
Hi, I wasn't looking at you. I wasn't. I was just looking down. I wasn't looking at dogs.
Can you see your little face?
You're such a naughty dog. What are you doing? This is not for you. I do love you. I wasn't talking to you, though. Don't lick me.
Okay. So that was horrendous. Whoa, but Friday night at the symphony. Okay, Tales from the Symphony. Apparently, as we're leaving, that we come out, and my colleagues are all abuzz, and there's cops in the lobby because apparently, during the first half, this is the story I heard. Then I heard it wasn't true. Then I don't know what happened. But apparently, the story I heard that night was that someone was shushing someone else during the first part of the concert, and that at intermission they got into an argument, and somebody whack with a purse. Then I heard last night that it was somebody that one of my friends knew, and that was not accurate, that they made that up, that no one hit anybody. But I don't know. But they had to escort people out of the they had to hold the second half of the concert and escort people out. It's like, ooh. Well, fisticuffs at the symphony.
That reminds me when that one time that guy was trying to pick a fight at the Star Trek movie that we went to go see. Remember, we went. It was a big theater, with a dome, a big one of those. You don't see them anymore, but this is a huge theater with a big screen, and we went to go see. It was a Star Trek movie with both William Shatner and John and what's his face?
Generations.
Yeah, Generations. That's the one. And so
yes, I know that.
we went to see it one night it was Mark and Naomi and me and Eve. And the film got discombobulated, so they gave us all passes to come see it again. So we went to see it again, and this time Mark didn't want to go, so my mom went.
That wasn't.
And yeah, and Naomi and Eve and I went, the four of us with my mom. So we went to go see the movie the second time, and this time when we were sitting in front of us,
was it the Cinemark?
I was going to say, I don't remember this event at all.
It was a big theater. But
not Cinemark.
This is when
That's not what I meant.
Yeah,
Cine Capri.
I lived in Little Rock, so I had just come in for the Thanksgiving weekend or whatever. But so in the row in front of us, there was a group, some adults and a teenager. And then in the next row up and over on this side was this couple. And the teenager, kept asking the man next to him, this blondie man, kept asking him questions, and the blondie man kept answering him, and only loud enough that it was kind of disturbing, And this is the one where the woman behind us said, "Guinan."
I don't remember.
Oh my gosh! I have no memory of this.
So the guy, the cup down in here, there was the big guy. He turned around and kind of at first, you know how you do, you give them the evil eye,
right?
And he wouldn't shut up, and so finally he shushed him, and the blonde guy, got all defensive and mad, and he was trying to pick a fight with the big guy, right? And the big guy kind of didn't want to fight with him, and he says something about being an off-duty cop or something. The blonde guy, and like threatened to call the police or whatever, and I'm like, why? Because he won't fight with you. So like he stood up, and the big guy stood up, and the lady that was with him, his girlfriend or wife or whatever, said like, sit down. You're not gonna fight with him. Sit down. So he sat down, and the blondie guy, I don't know, he wanted the big guy to go outside with him and fight with him or something.
Jeez.
But so he went out, the blonde guy went out and like said something to get some cops in there or something. And because I remember like around that time I went to the bathroom, and the theater workers were like blah, 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 talking about it. But so I went to sit down, and I was trying to watch the movie, right? And so here comes some cops in there, and the blonde guy, and they
You're like,
told the big guy, you to come with us and whatever. And he was trying to tell his girlfriend or wife, whatever, to go home, and that he was gonna. And she's like, no, I'm going with you. And so they all went out, and so we're trying to watch it. So after they left, then was like, oh, good, we can watch the movie now. And then, a guy that was with them, and I guess I was on the end. It was me, and then, I don't know, Eve and my mom and Naomi or something. But so I was on the end, and this guy that was with that group came to me and asked me if I would go out and talk to the cops about whatever the situation was, because I had seen it all. And I'm like, I'm trying to watch the movie. And he goes, oh, I'll make sure you come back. You can come back and see it again. And I said, I'm from out of town. I don't have time to come back. I want to watch the movie. And so,
wait.
so he finally, I guess, was gonna wait till the movie was over and then talk to us or something. And so after the movie was over, then the police were out there with the guy, and they asked us to what had happened. And so Naomi and I were saying, he went and got the cops because the guy wouldn't go out and fight with him. He was just trying to shut him up to watch the movie. And so I don't know what finally happened. I think they hauled them all off to jail. I don't know what, but it was like just shut up and watch the movie. It was so stupid.
And that would have been a long time ago. But it seems as time progresses, people have become less and less able to be told no,
and less able to shut up in a performance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's like I often want to say in a symphony performance or a recital or something. I want to turn around and say, those are actually real people.
Yeah,
up
it's
there.
not you're not in your living room watching TV.
Well, and even at the movie theater, it's like you were home for a long time. And during COVID, and now you have to remember how.
Well,
to
even
be
before
quiet.
COVID,
I know.
Yeah,
especially if you're in a child's movie.
I went to see.
Teach your children not to talk.
Yeah.
I went to see the movie with what is it called? Ellen, who's now Elliot Page, Juno. Mm-hmm. And so there was a bunch of teenagers in that movie. I mean, sitting in the audience. And so I was trying to watch the movie, and this guy, I don't know if he was in my row. I think he was in my row, down a little ways. He kept checking his phone. Mm. And so his phone kept, he had it on silent, but it kept lighting up.
Yeah.
When this person was texting him or something. And so he's sitting there texting, and then the phone would light up, and he's texting. And I'm like, didn't you pay the $8 or $9 to get in this movie? And you're sitting, you're not even watching the movie, you're watching your text, And I'm like,
He's house.
And so, that kind of thing. Well, I always have the worst luck when it comes to movies with the audience. When I went to see Apollo 13, there was a guy and a girl, and the guy was like trying to impress the girl, I think, with talking about everything, what they were doing on the screen, and everything he knew about everything, and in the movie there's a big pause where Tom Hanks, he tells his wife when he finds out that that he's scheduled to go to the moon, so he tells her something about that vacation trip we were going to go on, and he goes, I think we were going to go somewhere else, and she goes, where? And he says. And there's a pause, right? A beat, like they do in the theater, right? And then he says, the moon, right? So this guy, in the middle, in that quiet pause, he says, "The moon." And I'm like, "No, you're not getting paid to be up there on the screen. Shut up." You know, and finally I did shush them.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You be quiet." And I'm like, "I'm not talking during the movie." You know, and yeah, it's like when I went to see an X-Files movie and the film broke. And I went to, you know, it's just like, if it's not one thing, it's another.
I was at a concert way back when I was in college in New Mexico. I was at a concert, and there was this guy behind me, again with a girl, I guess, and the concert master walked out, and he goes, and everybody clapped, and he's like, "I don't know what they're clapping for. You haven't done anything yet." And then the oboe played the tuning A, and he goes, They have to tune
you and I were at that.
They have to tune it first because it's the hardest instrument to tune." Like, no, that's not why the oboe plays the A at the beginning of the concert, you idiot. Oh my gosh.
If you're going to be a know-it-all, make sure you know it all first.
Yeah, exactly. And then one time I was in Boston at the BSO, and they played a very modern piece. I don't remember what it was. I liked it. But there were these old ladies behind me. And after they finished playing it, one old lady says to the other, "That music is fine, but not at the symphony." Like, where else would you like it to be, since it's written for a symphony orchestra?
When I was in Belgium, on the international base that was the movie theater, and they played the American movies one night. You had one opportunity to see it.
Oh, wow.
So on the ticket counter, it said, "Nobody under 3 years old." Period. You know. Mm-hmm. And they would have put it even older if they could have, because you have one opportunity to see the movie. And my ex-husband was, he was in the Air Force, but he was, wasn't an MP, but he was along that line of things. He was some kind of security policeman. And so he had all those security policeman things and the big jacket and all that stuff. And we went to see a movie, and I don't know what it was, doesn't matter. And you could always tell on any base when the teenagers were American. Because they were the ones that were loud, obnoxious, acting badly. That's not to say that teenagers all over don't misbehave, because I'm sure they do. But, you know. So these kids were all in a row. There was about 5 or 6 of them, girls and boys. And they were cutting up and making noise, and the movie was about to start. Yeah, he got up and he went over to the row behind them, and he leaned over like this for a few minutes. And then he got up and he went back to the seats. And all these kids just got up and walked out of the theater. And I said, "What did you say to them?" So I asked him what he said to them. And he said, "I just said if they didn't be quiet, I would go up there and knock their heads together," or something like that. You know, he just said something along those lines.
Yeah.
And the kids just got up and left, because they knew in that theater there was an intolerance for people disrupting the movie, because you could only see it once.
Yeah.
And there were days that we went to the movie theater and in Belgium, in Brussels, which was a different experience, because they come around during the movie and sell things to you, like ice creams and stuff like that in a little basket. During the movie, they're like, "Do you need anything? Do you need anything?" You know? That's where I saw the Goonies.
Yeah.
I don't know that it was the first time I saw it, but I did see the Goonies there. And no, it wasn't the first time, because I remember the section where he's speaking Spanish to the lady, you know, and he's telling her all the wrong things.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the subtitles were in French and Flemish, not English. So I was like, okay. I don't remember exactly. I remember kind of the gist of what he's saying.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, on the international base, the movie theaters weren't dubbed; they were in English. Mm-hmm. So we always preferred to go there, but and you didn't get sodas. You get a little box of apple juice. But, you know, a movie is a movie. Any port in a storm, right?
Yeah.
But my best example of people behaving badly was at my pool. Eli was high school, and he was with me, and I think it was a Saturday, and I took him to the pool. It wasn't the pool we normally went to, and I don't remember why. That apartment complex had 3. And we chatted briefly with a couple of people, and I was talking to an older woman who was there with her son and her grandson. She was in the water with her grandson. Her son was around somewhere doing, you know, paperwork or something. And Robert was going to join us later. And this lady comes in who happened to be black. That was not why she was behaving badly. With, I don't know, 10 children. A lot of kids, right? And a little Yorkie dog. And they promptly put the dog in the swimming pool.
Oof.
And were surprised. This woman was shocked that we didn't want the dog in the pool.
Uh-huh.
Now, if you have your own private pool and you put your dog in the pool, who cares?
Yeah. But
don't put your dog in the neighborhood swimming pool, right? So somebody said, you're not allowed to put your dog, you're not allowed to even bring your dog in here, right? And she started cursing and yelling at us that we didn't want her to be there because she was black and that these children were black, and, you know, we didn't care. Well, this just kept escalating, and she was getting louder and louder, and she was drunk. Mm. And Eli's like, what is going on here? And the woman who was there with her grandson wanted this woman to tone it down and to take the dog out. And her son saw what was going on, so he got on the phone to the main office. That made that woman very, very angry. Mm. So she slugged the woman the grandmother.
Oh my gosh.
And so the grandmother slugged her back. And there they are.
Oh my gosh.
By the children.
Oh no.
Who were now screaming because their grandmother's being beaten up. Actually, she was beating up the other woman. And Eli is like, I think we should go home. I said, Eli, what we are going to do is sit right here off to the side and just stay a safe distance. Yeah. Right? And Robert came about that time. And she kept hitting that woman. And I said, you have to stop. I said, look at your grandchildren. They're crying. Look what you're doing to them.
The grandmother kept beating on the
woman, the black woman that had come in with the dog was a grandmother. And she had brought a gazillion grandkids with her. I see. Those are the ones that were crying. No, the boy of the woman I had been talking to, whose son was there, he went to his dad.
I see.
But these children didn't feel safe, and they were seeing this fight, mm-hmm. and I remember Kelly coming in. Kelly. Why do I keep calling my son Kelly?
I don't know.
I remember Robert coming in and holding me back, and he said, stop yelling at her, because I wanted it to stop.
Yeah.
Because the children, when they started hitting each other, I wasn't involved. She was kind of defending me because that woman thought I was the one that was instigating everything. And she said, I'm the one that called. I'm the one that called the police. I'm the one that called the main thing, me. And so I felt like she was defending me because that woman was first yelling at me. And so I'm like, you need to stop. Look at the kids. Look what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to forget Mom getting in a fist fight. Yeah. Grandma getting in a fist fight, I mean. So she takes off finally right before the people from the main office come. And shortly before the police officers got there. And they told us that she was always making problems and that this was the last thing and they were going to evict her.
Wow.
And the woman, that grandmother that had gotten hit, they had broken a tooth.
Oh, jeez.
All kinds of stuff. Her hair was all ripped out, you know, and it was bad. And the officer's like asking my opinion what happened, and you know, I told him. And then I was just trying to see if she was okay, and he comes to her and he says, "Okay, so do you want to press charges?" She goes, "Yes." You know, but you know, I'm like, don't bring your dog to the pool. What are you thinking?
Even so, even if you're going to get into an argument, laying hands on somebody is like a whole other level.
Well, yeah. And the woman that came in with the dog is the one that hit first.
Yeah.
Now, she was drunk and had no business watching little kids by a pool.
Wow.
I am very, very annoyed at the amount of children that drown in neighborhood pools. Mm-hmm. And inevitably, there is an adult that is not paying attention.
Yeah.
You know, there's a big push to criminalize a child being left in a car and dying in a car because of the heat. Mm. Or a child getting a hold of a gun and shooting themselves or somebody else. I'm talking children, you know. There are laws in many states that about these things that make parents responsible for this kind of event. Mm-hmm. And somebody stated after another child here, it happens here in Phoenix a lot, that why are the parents not charged for not watching their children? And I can kind of see both sides, but part of me is like, how did your 2-year-old get into the water? How? Mm-hmm. When my son was little, yeah, a lot of bad things could have happened because I was not a perfect mom, not by a long shot. But I was very aware that water was very dangerous, you know, even in the bathtub.
Yeah. That's why you sleep when they sleep, and when they're not asleep, neither are you.
And even if they can't sleep. And like I said,
stretch my hands.
You know, I understand that horrible things happen. I understand that bad things happen, and I understand that sometimes it is simply an accident.
Right.
But if you're in charge, you know, that's like
But you don't go drunk.
Yeah,
that's beyond an accident.
When I used to babysit the triplets, there was a family that lived across the street, and they had their kids were a little bit older than the triplets, and one time they were supposed to be napping, and the mother was taking a nap because the kids were supposed to be napping, and so I had the triplets out we were in the front yard, and I think they were like, you know, drawing on the sidewalk with sidewalk chalk or something. And all of a sudden, these two little boys come across the street. And I'm like, does your mother know where you are? And he's like, oh, yeah, she does. And so I'm like, I'm not getting paid to take care of these kids, you know. If something happens and they end up in the hospital or something, you know. Mm-hmm. And so a few minutes later, here comes the mom across the, what are you doing over here? You know?
Oh my God.
Yeah, they had snuck out while she was
scary.
Sleeping. Yeah, and I was like, you know, yes, thank you for coming and getting your children.
Well,
yeah, but
just like one time I took Eli to the neighborhood pool there on Cindy Street, and we arrive and there are 3 children there, junior high and younger. Mm-hmm. One was maybe 8, with no adult. Mm-hmm. And I said, you can't be here. And they got angry. We know how to swim. I said, I don't care. My son could swim circles around me when he was 6. Did I ever let him go to the pool by himself? No. I said, if something happens to you, I will be at fault because I am the adult here. You need to leave. Mm-hmm. And they did. And Eli and I were in the water swimming around. And the parents, I've come to find out that one of those children didn't belong to those parents. It was a neighborhood friend whose mother probably thought they were being supervised, right? The parents came over and got angry with me because I told them their kids couldn't be there without an adult.
You're like, there's rules right there.
And I'm like, they're not 18. So they can't be here without an adult. And if you want them to swim, one of y'all need to be here. Mm-hmm. Well, they know how to swim. I don't care. And I said, if they come back into this pool and you are not here, I will be calling the HOA and make sure that your lock is taken off. Because it was a digital lock. Mm-hmm. You know, because that is not right. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't just... Especially a neighborhood friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, what happens if something happens to that kid, you know?
By the time they run across, they said, we're just across the street.
Then it should be easy for you to walk over here.
By the time they run across the street and said, so-and-so hit her head and fell into the water.
Yeah, too late.
They're dead. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they were doing flips into the 6-foot. Mm-hmm. When I got there, and the little kid was grabbing onto the side to get to the deep water where they were. Mm-hmm. And I was like, are you insane? And they stood there trying to argue with me that was their parenting choice and I shouldn't care and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm staying in the water because I am over 18 and I am here with this child who is under 18 and I am staying here and swimming here. They are not as long as I am here because I'm not going to watch them. Mm-hmm. And they finally left and those little kids didn't come back. Yeah. But how many times after that did those kids go? Of course. Without supervision? Yeah. And that's how these things happen is when people are like, oh, well, you know, they know how to swim. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you know, people who have a pool and the neighbor kids come over to use their pool, you know, and that when they're not there, you know, you can't allow that.
Well, I have to tell a story about a kid who swam very well. This high school kid. And he was on the swim team and he was, you know, in swim meets, knew how to swim very well, had 2 very much younger siblings. His mom and I chatted every day, went at swim practice for the swim team. And I heard about it at work by lifeguards the day before, that I talked to the mom. So one of the girls I worked with in a call center was a lifeguard at that pool. And her and another guy were talking about an experience that she had had to pull somebody out of the water. And she was still very upset and very shaken. And she's like, I don't think I can lifeguard again. I thought he was dead. I thought when I pulled him out, he was dead. That when I pulled him out, his head went to the side. And I just thought, He was dead. FYI, he was life flighted from that pool to a hospital. So the next morning at the practice, they said emphatically, if you are not here where your coaches are here, you may not do the practice things that we do here, like no breathers. And the mother told me that they had been practicing no breathers, which means swimming all the way across the pool without breathing. It can increase your speed, because every time you get up to take a breath, it slows you down. So they were practicing no breathers to see how far across the pool they could get.
They were just there playing? Like
in the morning practice. That's what they were doing. So the mother took them back so that the little kids could swim, and the older son went with her. And she wasn't worried about him. He knew how to swim. Then there were lifeguards, thank God. And she heard a loud whistle being blown, and there was instructed for everybody to get out of the pool. And so she got her little kids out of the pool, and she said, I don't see so-and-so. Where is he?
Gosh.
Do you see him? And she saw them pulling. She goes, look, they're pulling a man out of the water.
That was her son.
And it wasn't right away that she realized that was her son.
Oh my gosh.
And she went running over there, and she had to drive herself. She had to take the kids somewhere and drive herself across town. The hospital they took him to was very far from the pool. But they went by helicopter, so it didn't take as long. But he finally woke up in the ER, and he looked around, and they're kind of telling him what had happened, and his comment was, I almost made it.
Oh, jeez.
But he was going past the point of blacking out, so he blacked out, and he sunk to the bottom of the pool, and that's what happened. This was somebody who knew how to swim very, very well. And she had no fear of her son swimming away from her, because she knew how well he swam. And there were lifeguards. And I wish that I didn't know of other instances of, this kind of thing happening. So can you tell I'm passionate about watch your kids around water? Every time I hear a story.
Everybody, but I mean, I know people go swimming by themselves all the time, but adults or whatever, and that's their choice. But if you're around water and there's other people, you kind of have to keep an eye and ear out for everybody. Just to in case someone suddenly has a struggle.
Well, I just read an article just today about some divers who are diving on a shipwreck, and they two of them died, and the other guy barely made it out because they ran out of they were on this certain level of the ship, and it got very silty, and they couldn't see, and they basically just ran out of air. And the one guy just barely made it out in time, and the other ones died. And and they were very experienced, and and it's just, you can't rely on that. I mean, when we went to the pool, I guess maybe the first year we went to that 4th of July thing or whatever that your church does at the pool, and there was I don't know if it's a circular thing.
Yeah, it's like a
little vortex kind of thing. Yeah,
it's like a lazy river but faster.
Yeah, and
there's a lazy river, but then there's another thing you can go in that's like it spins you very fast. What's that called? Like a whirlpool.
Yeah, and it was fun for a little bit, but then I could not get out. It
was scary.
Yeah, and it was just kind of like,
I went in it once.
Yeah. And I was
Twice,
like,
maybe.
You have to really work to get yourself out, and it's very scary. There's a lifeguard right there, but still. Well, so when I was in college, I went to Denver for a summer to be a live-in nanny for a family that had lived here, and they moved over there, and they needed someone for the summer. And I was like, heck, I'm 18, I got nothing to do, so I went up there. It was really fun. So I got paid to take the kids to the pool, take the kids to the movies, whatever. It was a lot of fun. And they had a cousin that I guess they didn't know that she came for a little while to stay with them, and she was my age, so she and I would go do stuff at night and stuff like that. We had fun. Anyway, I was at the pool with the kids. I was in charge of the kids, and I did this stupid thing. I wanted to dive down. I was diving to the bottom to get things off the bottom, and I had a little rock that I just found, and I would toss it down, and I go, but it was deep. It was deep. This was back before my ears were so awful, and I could swim deep. And I went down for that rock, and as I was coming up, I was running out of air, and it looked like still, I don't know, 1,000,000 feet to the surface, and I was panicked. I thought to myself, I'm going to die. I remember being very scared and I almost took in water, and I thought I'm never going to reach the surface. And finally I reached the surface, and I was gasping for air. I had the rock in my hand, and I was gasping for air, and no one noticed, like nobody. I'm like, I could have died and no one would have seen me until
Well,
and so
it's deceptive.
I kept that rock for a long time. I called it my death rock because it really reminded me like it is so easy to do something stupid.
Well, when you get off the cruise ships in areas, certain areas of the Caribbean where the water is so clear, you might get the snorkeling adventure, right? And they're like, it looks like that seashell is this far away. It's not. It's really far down, hundreds of feet sometimes, because the boat is parked there, a big ship fits there in that depth, and the water is crystal clear, so you can't tell how deep it is. And they say people all the time, they try swimming down, they come up with the snorkel thing just attached to their face because of the pressure thing. And because by the time they realize that they've gone too deep, it's difficult and it causes problems. And so they're like, just don't dive for things, okay? Don't dive for things. And it's especially deceptive because on one particular one, you walk in from the shore, and so you don't realize, I just walked in here. It's not too bad, right? No, it's very deep.
When we went on that cruise. We were in, I think it was in Cozumel, that we went snorkeling, and so they had these buoys out where so like they were there for the people who were on like jet skis or boats or whatever wouldn't come in because that's where people were snorkeling. And so, but they said, you have to be careful because on the rocks and the buoys and stuff, there's fire coral and it'll sting, if you touch it. And so we were bobbing in the water because the instructor guy was telling us how to, for people who didn't know how to snorkel or whatever, what to do and blah, blah, blah. And so, I think, there was a person, I was thinking that, I was looking forward this way. And so I was thinking, the people were all around me, whatever. And I felt something scratch my arm, and I thought it was somebody's swim fin, So I turned around to say something to them, and it was a buoy. And it was, I had brushed up against it, and then all of a sudden my arm went, wah! Like, fire coral, ah!
Oh,
so
man.
for the rest of the trip, I had like a spot on my arm that looked like orange rind,
gross.
My arm was swollen and bumpy and weird.
Yeah, you with the jellyfish and
Yeah.
Yeah, she got stung by jellyfish.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was a trip.
Yeah.
That was a
what
crazy
was I gonna
trip.
say about the ocean? Oh no. When I went to Marble Canyon, when I went to Lee's Ferry and went fishing, so what our fishing guide would do is he would drive the boat up to a spot, and then he would let the boat drift down as we put our hooks in the water, and he would drift the boat like this. And so he was using his motor slowly, and we would drift down. And then one time he was driving down, and on the side of the river, so there were a lot of people that were kayaking and stuff, and so they would pull their kayaks up to the side of the river. So this river has basically very little beach. Like, you couldn't walk up the river because the canyon walls are so close, and so the only way really in there is by boat or kayak. But there's enough beach in some areas for them to, to stop, and they kind of walk around. But so there was a bunch of kayakers stopped on the side there, and there were two sets of two people snorkeling in the river. And Dave stopped, and he's like, he kind of yelled at them, and he's like, do you know how dangerous it is to be diving here with no dive buoy? He's like, the boats cannot see you and they will run over you. And he was really upset. He's like, that's really dangerous. And they were like, oh, well, we're just right here on the side. He goes, you should not be. And he's like, what outfit brought you in here? So I don't know if he's or something. And he's like, okay. They told him, and he's like, But he's like, it's very dangerous. And they were like, okay. And then there was another couple of people a little bit further up. Well, we went past them, and we had been drifting down, and then one of us caught a fish, or one of us, I think maybe Eli tangled his line or something. So he turned the boat off, or turned the motor off, and he would go back and work on the line. And while the motor was off, the boat was just floating, okay? And he would be like, tell me if I'm going to hit the side, And I'm like, okay, am I in charge? So, but at one point, we were just floating, and we started to get close to those people. And Mark goes, Dave, we're getting kind of close to those divers. And he goes, I don't care if my engine's off, if I hit them. I'm like, okay. Well, like, we'll serve them right. And a lot of times he'd be drift or like traveling in the river, and there's kayakers, and they're coming straight down at the boat, and he goes, use those things in your hand. Use that thing in your hand. You can do that, like to steer around the boats coming. And they're like, oh.
They have a lot of problems on the intercoastals in Florida with boaters and recreational people not doing what they're supposed to do. And there's a speed limit there because there are often people in the water, and also because of the manatees.
Barbara manatee.
and so people, they know better, and so they go, flying around in the water, and they'll get a ticket if somebody sees them.
Yeah.
But often what happens is a horrible tragedy. And one day there was a whole bunch of people on the dock on the side of one of the intercoastals. I think the one on the Tampa side. I don't remember. But one of these boats ran up on top of the dock and killed a whole bunch of kids.
Oh my gosh.
Because they couldn't be bothered to go the speed limit.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I saw,
what are you thinking?
I don't know where it was, but I saw a video. It was like what's that called? you know, the cameras that people wear. What are those?
The GoPros.
GoPro video of this guy in a kayak. He hears a kid crying. So he kayaks up to the kid. And the kid's wearing a life vest. He's floating in the middle of the water. I think it was a river. It might have been a lake. But the kid's just floating there. And he's like, my dad left me. My dad left me. And so he's like, because at first he was going to pull him into the kayak, but then he realized he might upend them both. So he's like, can you hold on? And he's like, yeah, I can hold on. So then the kid grabbed onto the kayak and he paddled him toward the shore. And near the dock where they landed was a house, and he went up to the house and asked the couple that was there to call 911 to get paramedics to check the kid out, because he was afraid he was hypothermic.
Uh-huh.
And the kid was like, no, don't call the cops. Okay. He was real scared.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, it's okay, we just want to get someone checked out. And I think that he could see his dad. It was something weird, like the boat drifted away from the kid, and then the dad was trying to get it back to him or something. But the guy in the kayak was kind of like,
why is the kid in the water without an adult?
Exactly. And so the kid was a little bit angry at his dad, and he was little. He was probably 10 or younger, but he was afraid of the cops being called. So everyone in the comments was like, that dad sounds like something's wrong with him. So then the dad finally comes, okay?
Yeah.
And he's talking to the kayaker guy. He didn't like go and hug his son and like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He says to the kayaker guy, oh, thanks, you saved me a lot of trouble.
Jeez.
He believed that? And everyone in the comments is like, what do you mean saved you trouble? He saved your son, like,
I hope the police and paramedics came.
I have no idea whatever happened, but I'm like, oh, it was the worst thing. I was sitting here thinking, I think this may be our most morbid episode we've ever had.
And then they died.
I used to kid with my mom because she would start telling me a story about one of her friends, and inevitably the last sentence was,
and then she died.
And she died.
And then they died. Like, Mom! Oh, yeah. But, well, I better get home.
Yes.
We realized that I told my husband, because I was at a concert last night, and I didn't work, but I went to a concert, and I was like, we forgot that last night was a new episode of Andor.
Oh, yeah. It was a good one.
Oh, they're all good. I'm sorry, but that show is so good. I have several shows I'm watching right now.
I have a crush on Diego Luna.
I know, me too. Who doesn't? Come on.
He's so
who doesn't?
cute.
So,
and he's great.
But I've also been watching Manifest, the new season of Manifest. And
that show's still on?
This is only the 4th season. It had 3 seasons on the network, and then Netflix picked it up for the 4th season, apparently.
I guess, yeah. It seems like that was 1,000 years ago.
It wasn't 1,000 years ago. Anyway, I like the show. I have 2 episodes left to watch, and sometimes with certain things, certain stressful things, I can't completely binge watch them.
Well, I could not.
I get stressed.
I started watching The Walking Dead when it first came out, and it was like every second, here's another zombie, and I was like, I don't want to watch
stressful.
That. Yeah.
No, I want to finish.
Zombie
I want to
stuff.
finish Manifest, but it was just getting a little stressful, and so I had to take a couple days break.
I watched the first season, and then I'm done.
The other thing, did I already mention this? The other thing I decided to watch for some ungodly reason from season 1, day 1. I'm almost ashamed to say it. Did I talk about this already?
What?
I've been watching Dance Moms. I told Mark, it's like an old, ugly pair of shoes that you would never wear out of the house, but you like them. and you're just going to wear them around the house. And you know they're ugly.
I loved seeing all the people
And you know
screaming
they're
at
bad.
each other and yelling at each other. And I'm
You
like,
know you shouldn't wear those shoes anymore. But you got to take them out of the closet once in a while, right? That's how I feel about Dance Moms. But
I'm happy to say I've never watched a single episode of that show.
I don't know. I don't even know why. Like, I told Nick at work the other day, I was like, I don't know why I care about this. It happened like 10 years ago. But anyway, so I've been watching Dance Moms. I'm sorry to say. I was telling my friend last night, I'm like, you have no idea. Violin Moms is almost as bad. Like, there is some Violin Mom stuff gone down in
Swimming
this town.
moms.
Swim moms. Yeah.
Sports moms.
They're all bad. All those moms.
Yeah.
I'm not a bad violin mom. Not very.
One of that swim team that Kelly Robert. Oh, God, what the heck? I started saying Robert to begin. I know my son's name. I really do. That Robert was on.
Problem.
Yeah. That's a Freudian slip.
The swim
That
team.
swim team that Robert was on with that boy that I was talking about before. There was a young man that was Robert's age, and sometimes Robert would win, sometimes he would win, sometimes Robert would win. And I think he was 6. They were little.
It was like Chloe and Maddie.
No. Because I was like happy when Robert won, and I was okay with him losing because he tried, you know?
Yeah.
And his dad used to run up and down the swim pool, following his swim, screaming at him. And if he lost, he berated him because he lost. And these parents were always telling me, oh, he's reading on this level now. He's reading on this level now. I'm like, I don't care. Because it's not important that he's
You should have
reading
said,
at this level.
Go put your kid in violin. You fit better over there.
But I felt so sorry for him because he would cry and all this stuff, and he's being yelled at because he didn't win.
One time-
he was trying hard.
Yeah. People are awful. One time Hannah got like 3rd place in a competition. But this one mom's kid got lower somewhere. I don't know. And she told another friend of mine, well, Naomi bribed the judges.
Oh my God.
And my friend said to her, why would she bribe a judge for 3rd place? Which cracked her face. But I'm just like, yeah, they are out there.
Wait, when if you remember at that music festival in Florida, and we had that an audition for the second bassoon part in this one piece.
Oh yeah.
And so I auditioned. Several of us auditioned, and they had us go out of the room while they decided, who they were choosing, and then my friend told me that one of the girls that I guess she didn't actually audition because she played contra, but anyway, when I won, that she told somebody, oh, if I'd have known it was that easy, I would have auditioned. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes your friends are not friends.
Fortunately, I didn't know her.
When I was in elementary school, I remember a friend of mine, we were at PE and we were playing softball, and it was my turn to bat next. And she kept saying, you're gonna strike out. You should let me go. You should let me go. It was like tied or something. You should let me go. You're going to strike out. I said, it's my turn. Now, mind you, I don't like sports. I enjoy playing them more than I like watching them. But I wasn't into sports.
Did you strike out?
No.
Oh.
I made it to second base.
No.
Guess who struck out?
That's called crack your face. That's called crack your face.
Yeah. So, yeah, all of this hype about your kids with sports and stuff, just, support them, let them do what sport they want to do.
No, Hannah better win. No, I'm just kidding. We had a thing in our house, like, you learn more when you lose.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you win, you don't think about why you won. You just like, I won!
Mm-hmm.
But when you lose, you have to evaluate yourself and think, what could I have done better? What, you know, so it's a great opportunity.
I must have had great opportunities when I was auditioning.
I learned a lot of lessons in my musical ventures.
So I always said if I was auditioning against a viola player, if he'd have been a better viola player, I wouldn't have gotten the job.
Okay.
All right, I gotta get home.
The dog is telling me that Taffy eats at 5 and it's already 7.
I have a date with Diego Luna. I mean, my husband, to watch Andor. All right.
I can't see anyway, so I'm just making this up as I go along.
Okay.
It's like, I can't see what I'm doing.
Well, thank you for joining us for yet another week. We hope your November is going well and that your holiday plans are coming along. And we thank you for joining us.
And don't forget that we have our 100th episode coming up. And so
keep an eye out.
Hopefully, I'll have my autumn berries finished before Christmas.
That'd be good. Yeah, our 100th episode's coming. So stay tuned here to this channel, and you shall hear about it.
Watch this space.
Watch this space. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye.